Yo, what's going on? It's your host, Jackie Chism, back again with another episode of the Chism Sports Groove. That's the CSG, if you did not know. Hey, we got a great show for you today. Definitely going to talk about that NFL season that just wrapped up. Like, Week 18 was crazy. Man, we got a lot of games to go over. Playoffs is set, ready to go for this weekend. We'll cover that more. Man, number 1 seed Tennessee Titans. I'll hold it for the applause. Definitely got to talk about that more in Titans time. Got the good, the bad, the ugly, and some NBA today and in Vegas, baby. We got hot news and not news today, and we're going to go over my final thoughts. Today we're going to talk about something that Nick Saban and Kirby Smart, two coaches that are coaching tonight in the national championship, actually agree upon. We'll talk about that more in my final thoughts. Hey, it's CSG. Let's get it. Yo, what's going on, guys? We're back again. I definitely want to start by talking about some of these Week 18 games, man. Like, especially just the ones that had playoff potential for the teams. Like, there were some ridiculous outcomes. I couldn't have never guessed. I definitely did not guess that the Jaguars were going to beat up on the Colts. Good for them. They still keep the number 1 seed too. Gotta love it. Gotta love to see division rivals like get knocked out of the playoffs. Somebody we don't have to see for a third time, because as you'll see later on, there's a couple of good like division rival games. You don't know what's going to happen. Definitely did not think that the 49ers were going to pull that out. They were down 17-0. And you would think that, you know, the way they used Deebo Samuels to get themselves back into their game, that they would at least, like, shadow Deebo Samuels. I mean, George Kittle was not doing anything in that game. So, I mean, they did a great job of keeping him at bay. But, like, Deebo Samuels was the ones that wrecked the game. He threw a touchdown. He ran for a touchdown. I'm not so sure his stats up. I remember seeing him, but I'm not sure. But he was close to 100 yards or over 100 yards in that game, receiving as well. He had some big catches, especially in that overtime period. I mean, like, it just was ridiculous that they even let him back into it. Matthew Stafford, man, like, that's a huge question mark for the Rams going forward. I definitely thought that I would have took the Steelers in the game against the Ravens, even knowing that like the Ravens, I do believe, had the line in that game being at home. I just thought that there's no way that T.J. Watt and it's just Deontay Johnson, Najee Harris, and just the great coaching of Tomlin were not going to be that close and not make the playoffs. I know they didn't have a 10-win season for the first time in Tomlin's career as a head coach, but he still made the playoffs at the end of the day. So, I mean, that's just excellence at its best right there. And you love to see it. I mean, for the Steelers to still make it in, to be the team that they've been all year, is ridiculous. The Ravens needed a lot of help, and I do believe that would have led to the Colts being in the playoffs. So I just didn't want no chance of the Colts being in. So I definitely was pulling for the Steelers in this one. They ended up pulling it out in overtime. And then the game of the entire night was the Chargers and Raiders. Like, they were ridiculous. It was a ridiculous game. Both teams played not to lose, but also not necessarily to win. Shocker. Brandon Staley messed up again and made a bonehead coaching call that could potentially cost them the game. They're bleeding the clock out. They're okay with not getting in field goal range and just taking a tie, because both of you guys would have just been in at the end of the day. But who stops the clock and give a chance for everybody on the Raiders side to breathe and change their mind? Of course, Brandon Staley. I mean, the fact that you had the wrong package out there to begin with just shows, man, they definitely need to bring in a assistant coach that's been in the league and has some success in managing a game, because dude has not the slightest clue. I honestly believe that coaching cost them a few games, because 2 or 3 games they're not even in this conversation. Win or lose, they're probably in at a lower seed, at the 5 or 6 seed, already behind Kansas City in the division. So, I mean, it's a crazy thing to see. A shout out to the Raiders, because somebody got to win it, right? You guys did, man. So we ended up with the Titans and the Packers as the number 1 seeds. Shout out Tennessee. Oh man, we got some crazy games coming up this weekend. 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5. So I mean, the way to shake out. I mean, we got some great games. I think Kansas City's hosting Pittsburgh. Cincinnati's hosting the Raiders. Also in the AFC, the Bills, who won the division, and hosting the Patriots. So I mean, you got so that's a good division game right there in itself. Man, I want, if you put it down in the chat, we would think that the AFC is going to make it out, because I mean, this is going to be a great playoffs. I mean, the easiest route that I'm thinking is going to be just whoever can stay away from people that they played late in the season. In the NFC, I think this is the Packers division to lose, but when you have division games like the Cardinals and the Rams, man, anything can happen in that one. You definitely got Dallas hosting the 49ers, and the 49ers looking like they can beat anybody right now. Whew. I mean, Tampa Bay is hosting the Eagles, and the Eagles are an explosive team, waiting to happen. And we know the situation with Tampa Bay and their injuries are piling up on them. I mean, it's going to be a crazy playoffs. I'm excited to see it. I mean, again, in the comments, drop down who you think is who's going to come out of the NFC and the AFC. I mean, we're going to talk probably in the next episode. We'll probably go over who I think is going to win and what the lines are. We'll go crazy this weekend. All right, guys. When I come back, we're definitely going to go right into Titans time. All right, guys. Stay tuned. Number 1 seed Tennessee Titans. I just like the way it sounds. AFC South champions, number 1 seed, home field advantage throughout. We get the first round bye, and the king is back. Man, he gets an extra week of rest, which gives him 11 weeks on a Jones fracture after surgery. Man, his production is supposed to be at top notch. He looks great in practice, running and cutting on that foot already. We just definitely want to be precautious because if we can ride him the whole way, you know we have a chance this year. The defense is playing out of their mind. I mean, I would call that game against the Texans a trap game. Definitely is any division game late in the season like that. They're playing at the highest motivation that they can play, especially those that don't want to be there, like Zach Cunningham or Brandon Cooks, who said he openly said he did not want to be there and did not finish the game. I mean, it's crazy to see like how well that they played up to when they play us as well. Like usually Jacksonville is the team that historically has played, no matter how good or bad they've been, has played up to the Tennessee Titans, especially or the Colts, minus that 1 year Peyton Manning was not there. But yeah, Houston, they've laid down on some definite games this year, but turned around and like there's some fiery blood between them and the Titans. During the game, they've definitely said there's a lot of former Texans on the Titans organization. So I mean, I see that it's going to continue to come through next year, especially if we are able to have some steam into the playoffs. Like it's going to just only put a bigger target on their back. But hey, come on if you're coming, right? Oh man, again, our defense is legit. I just don't like the way that Molden was covering Amendola in that game. I definitely thought that Amendola had his way against Molden, especially in the slot, running routes past him. It just did not look good. Usually we would have Dane Cruikshank coming in more of our dime packages, but I think Brevin Jordan was mostly used still as their tight end in those packages, and he's more of a wide receiver than a tight end, especially when he runs his routes. So I can see how they use Molden more, but he ended up getting matched up with Amendola, who's a more crafty veteran. On that pick play, I think that there was on the touchdown, there was a pick play that bumped Chris Jackson a little bit, but he still is faster than that, and he should have been able to maneuver around that and keep up while keeping up with Amendola, who's 36. Come on now. So I mean, all around, like just because we pulled it out at the end, even though we were beating up 21-0, it was a good win for the Titans. We were able to not use Julio and AJ too much. We were able to keep the ball on the ground, even though we had some sloppy play in the beginning of the second half. We were able to get to a good early start that we were able to coast off of the rest of the game. So definitely, this is always going to be a key for this team at any game that they go into. The faster starts that we can get, not punting, going a couple, 3 or 4 possessions before we start, getting to a groove offensively, is going to help us. Keys, like once you can see the difference, like the drives that we can get like momentum or get some positive yards on first down, we're able to like successfully get through our progressions. Also, shout out to Ferkser. I mean, like, because on third downs, he showed up big, but when you have AJ and Julio on the outside that you gotta take so much attention to, like, it definitely helps that Ferkser has so much room, especially on that touchdown pass. Like, you're gonna find so much room, and just seeing that he had the sure hands and he was able to get into the right spots again. Shout out, man. I'm so ready to not talk about the Titans for next week. Like, only because we got a bye. I still want to talk about them, but like, I'm not talking about no games because we're not risking in the first round, like, out. Nah, we're 2 games away from the Super Bowl. I mean, I can't wait to see who we play. I got some predictions that I will come up with in the next episode. who I would think we want to play in a path of least resistance to the Super Bowl. It's going to be a great time. I feel it already. I mean, it's probably as good of a feeling, or not better than the feeling when we went to AFC Championship game with that team 2 years ago. Like it's that, like, I'm that giddy right now about like what we could do as a team. So I mean, tighten up, everybody. When we come back, guys, I definitely want to jump right into Vegas, baby. Stay tuned.
Vegas, baby, Vegas!
Yo, what's going on, guys? Back for Vegas, baby. Yeah, it's the segment where we go over the good, the bad, the ugly after we gave our locks, chances, and wild cards on just about anything we can bet on this week. Today, we definitely going to go over the good, the bad, and the ugly from week 18 and the ending of the NFL season. So we're going to jump right into it. I want to start off with the good because I always love to get good news first. Man, shout out to the Jags for definitely putting the Colts out of the playoffs, while also getting a win to end the season, going through all the turmoil they went through, and keeping the number one pick as well. So shout out to the Jags. That's actually good this week. Betting wise, they definitely should have been in the good. Also, shout out to the Raiders. Like, I know they were counting out in this game, even it being a home game. They've had so much turmoil. I think they're the first team in over 30 years that's had a coach change in the middle of the season that's actually still made it to the playoffs. I think they're also the first team to make it to the playoffs with an interim coach. Quote me on that. But like what they've done down there is ridiculous. They played a great game. Glad to see they grew a pair last night and went for the win as well. Also want to give a shout out to the Steelers. They were actual underdogs this week, but they came through, did what they needed to do to come out with a win in overtime, exceeding the line, and getting themselves into a playoff game. So Steelers are in the good for this week. We'll see how long that lasts. All right, I'll jump right into the bad for this week. I also want to start right off with the Rams. Man, that was a bad loss, up 17-0. Going into the halftime, like, man, you guys had all the momentum. You give up 3 points, give up the next touchdown on the next possession. Matthew Stafford, what are you doing, man? Like, they're definitely in the bad right now, and this is a bad time to be in the bad. Even with that loss, oh man, they still won the NFC West. Yeah, there we go. Man, definitely West. Where the Cardinals, who lost to the Seahawks, could have had a chance. That's going to be definitely my next team in the bad. Like, the Cardinals had a chance. Like, there's no way that you are a playoff team. You lose to a middling team like the Seahawks this year, who are not playing for anything much more than pride at this point. Which you guys had the division locked up. Could have been at home with your rocking crowd. Like, there's so much like potential for that team, but they've lost some big games, especially like the Lions in the past weeks. They've been on like a crazy losing streak lately. So I mean, it's just like a bad time for them as well to be in the bad. I also definitely want to put the Giants in the bad. Like, you could say it's ugly, but like, they've been ugly the whole time. The only reason I put them in the bad is because they gave no effort at all to win that game. Yeah, I'm talking about the 3rd and 9 where they go on a quarterback sneak. There's been over 3,000 third and 8+ plays this past season. One quarterback sneak. One. You know why there's only one? Because nobody else even attempted to look that pathetic before. Like, I had no more room in the ugly because they've been so ugly that they're ugly plus bad right now. Like, it just... I hear from ESPN sources that the GM of the Giants are stepping down. I can imagine that they're not going to keep the coach that was okay with them quarterback sneaking on 3rd and 9 in their own side of the field. It's ridiculous. Like, yeah, so it's ugly plus bad, but it would be ugly times 2 if they wasn't getting rid of the GM and the coach. In my mind, the coach is gone as well, especially after that. All right, so since we already jumped into to the ugly already, we will keep on with the ugly as well. I always want to start right off with the Colts. Like, we talked about them earlier in the episode, but I want to give a shout out to them again in the ugly for missing out on the playoffs completely. With Jonathan Taylor, one of the best running backs in football, I think he's number 2 behind a healthy Derrick Henry. You just crap the bed completely. I mean, I know you had some offensive line issues, but like, there's still like no way that team with that much talent on offense and defense should have missed the playoffs, especially when the Steelers got in and the Raiders got in. Come on, that's ridiculous. I love seeing it though. And next, I want to shout out to the Chargers. Like, woo! I mean, going for it on 4th down and within your own 20-yard line, not getting it. Oh, shit. Calling timeout at the end of the game while the other team's bleeding the clock out, giving you a chance for a tie. Like, it just made no sense. It made absolutely no sense. All season, what this coaching staff has called and been okay with running out on the field. They are in the ugly only because I don't think that they think it's an issue. So look for it to continue. This is Chargers football for the last 10+ years, man. Like, and I think that they got the best coach to continue that legacy that they got going. You can move them to LA, it's still the same old Chargers, man. It's ridiculous. I love it. Next, I also want to talk about is the Ravens, man. Woo. I mean, you missed the playoffs. You have like a middle of the pack, like 1st round pick and picks now. I mean, I think they're 18th or somewhere around in the top 15 below. So, I mean, you're not going to get like some of the best players. I know that they have a great front office. You got some time to get like Lamar back, but you guys were in it. You guys lost a couple of games, especially getting blown out by the Ravens that you should. I mean, not the Ravens. The Ravens got blown out by the Bengals, which you would think that they should have been in those games. And there's just some crazy games that they were just too close for comfort this season. That they should have been a playoff team. I mean, even with Tyler Huntley, even with them missing one game, that should not have affected them to the point where they actually just ended up missing the playoffs with this last game. They should have won that game last night, as well as they should have won a couple more in this season that should have put them in there. I know that there's injuries all around the league, so you can't really just say that too much. But I think that the way that they, like, with that much talent that they had on that team, the expectations of Super Bowl or bust this year for the Ravens, they're definitely in the ugly. You never know what's going to happen going forward, if they're going to break the team up or not, and try again. But Lamar is young, so I think that they're going to be okay. This season, though, that's pretty ugly, though. All right, guys, we definitely going to jump right into some NBA games. All right, Monday night, we definitely got the Bucks and the Hornets. I think I'm gonna just go with the Bucks in that one. They have no answer for Giannis. I know that like if the Hornets get hot, they can hang with anybody. But I mean, when you got the inside presence of Giannis Antetokounmpo, I'm just gonna roll with that one and that one. And there's not many teams that I'm okay with betting with against him. Next, we got the Cavs and the Kings. I think I'm gonna go with the Cavs in that one. I like the way that Rondo's fit into that team, that point guardless team that's down. I think Darius Garland is back, but Rondo's such a vital piece for any team. He was like vital for the Lakers when they won their last championship. He was vital for the Hawks getting in position the way they were last year before he was traded. You definitely just see he still got it. Like he definitely got it mentally. So I mean, I like that addition to the team. They're playing really well right now. Jake B. Biggerstaff's got them playing defensively really well. So I'm gonna go with the Cavs now. All right, on Tuesday we got the Celtics versus the Grizz. Celtics. We got the Warriors. Versus the Grizz. I mean, I gotta go with the Warriors only because Klay's back. He looked good in the first game back. I think that once they get in the rhythm, there's not many people that's going to stick with them. Ja's at home. I hate betting against the Grizzlies right now. They can hang with anybody. Desmond Bane's a lights out shooter. Don't let Jaren Jackson Jr. get hot. It sucks that Dylan Brooks is going to be out in this one. I think that's going to be the deciding factor. Just he's able to put up so many points and score at all three levels, mid-range, close to the rim, and at three. So I mean, that's somebody that they're really going to miss in that game. So I'm just going to have to go with the Warriors. I hate betting against the Grizzlies though right now. Next on Tuesday, we got the Denver Nuggets going to LA to the Crypto.com arena now. Such a ugly name. To play the Clippers. I like what the Clippers are doing right now, especially with PG-13 being out still, recovering from an elbow injury. But I think Joker's just going to be too much for him. I don't see Zubac matching up real well. I don't see Ibaka or just anybody deep down below just matching up too well against Joker. So I mean, I'm just going to roll with the Nuggets in that one. All right, on Wednesday night we got the Mavs playing against the Knicks. I mean, I would just say the Knicks, but did you see the way that the Mavs blew out the Bulls? Good Lord. Oh man. I happened to run across that game and just was like dumbfounded that the score was reverse what I thought. I mean, Luka being back, Kristaps Porzingis going back to Madison Square Garden. I mean, I like that matchup for the Mavs, and especially the way they're playing right now. If they can continuously put up points, I know Tim Hardaway Jr.'s a certified bucket. I mean, they got some weapons down there. Bronson's like playing crazy. So, I mean, I'm just going to roll with them because to this point, I'm really not still sold on the Knicks too much. I mean, I'll go with them for a game or two, but I'm not still sold on the Knicks right now. I mean, once they get D-Rose back, if they can make a few trades to get, it's probably some other piece. I just don't know what they need, man. On paper, they look so good. This ain't coming out. The second game on Wednesday night, we got the Brooklyn Nets traveling to Chicago to play the Bulls. Oh man, this is a great game. Like, I don't know which way I'm going in this one because you can go with the Bulls, but Kevin Durant, I feel like, has an answer. This is a game that Kyrie can play in as well, so it definitely is a big one. I have Kyrie back against the Bulls. This is like huge playoff potential. I see all over it. I definitely think that only because it's a home game and they're still working in Kyrie, that I'm just gonna go with the Bulls. They're getting back healthy. They're running the court. Lonzo Ball's back, so I'm gonna roll with the Bulls in that one. All right, going straight into Thursday games. Got the Warriors going to Milwaukee to play the Bucks. I think that the Warriors are just ridiculous right now. There's no way the Bucks are keeping up with them. So let's stay with the Warriors. And then the second game on Thursday, we got the Blazers traveling to Denver to play the Nuggets. I mean, I just don't know what's going on with the Blazers right now. There's a lack of talent and depth on that team, and it's pretty obvious right now. I mean, Dame says he wants to stay there, but is he really? Especially the way they're playing. So, look, I'm gonna go with the Nuggets again. Like, I hate betting against Dame time, but man, they're not giving me much this season to bet with. All right, guys, that's it for Vegas, baby. When we come back, we're gonna go over hot news, not news. When we return.
What?
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Hot News, Not News, the segment where we go over some of the hottest topics and latest topics in today's world of sport. And we decide if it's hot news, we're going to definitely talk about it a little bit more. If it's not news, I'm going to tell you why, and we're going to keep it pushing. All right, definitely want to jump right into today's news. Man, there has been some coaching firing at the end of this season. I mean, they did not wait. I think that they got the call as soon as the game was over yesterday to clean their offices out. The Bears and the Vikings have told their coaches and their head coaches and their GMs that they can no longer come to work, or their work is not there no more. And they were fired. I mean, you saw it coming from both of these teams. They were not able to keep up with the Packers for years in that division. The Bears did make the playoffs 2 of the last 3 years, so I could see why they gave that coaching GM combination one more shot. But the Vikings have been middling the whole entire time. Like, they have been doing nothing but stacking decent amount of talent and letting talent run out the back end. So, I mean, Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson are definite pieces that you want to build any offense around. I mean, they have a good offense. They have a good young offensive line that Dalvin Cook can run behind. They can use some upgrading, but I mean, like, the defense has some pieces. Some good linebackers, Eric Kendricks. I have good defensive linemen, Daniil Hunter when he can stay healthy. I mean, Harrison Smith is on the back end of his prime, but he's still there. I mean, so you would think that they had some potential of being better than what they were. I mean, the Bears definitely. I'm not so sure they wanted to fire Pace because they do have some talent. He's able to put a lot of talent around Justin Fields. There was a lot of speed, especially in the wide receiver position on the team. I mean, Marquise Goodwin and Jakeem Grant, Demir Bird, Darnell Mooney. I mean, those are some fast guys. 4 of them, and Allen Robinson not playing much and running. You just know he's not coming back next year because of the situation. It's just ridiculous. That's on the GM. that you're losing talent like on both teams that run it, while still having so much talent coming in as well. It's due time. The Bears look ridiculous all season. The Vikings had some head coaching blunders all season. I mean, it makes sense that they parted ways at this point. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are owning the division. You don't know how much longer Aaron Rodgers can keep this run up. So, well, it's a pretty smart move. You see the Lions got a jump on them and started their rebuild with a new head coach and a new structure last year. So I mean, they definitely trying to get ahead of the curve, knowing that the Packers probably are not going to sustain this run that they have over the AFC North. The AFC North is a lot much stronger. Also, definitely, because these are definitely news. I just want to throw in that the Dolphins fired their head coach and Brian Flores, and from my understanding right now, it's coming out that there was some disagreements in which coaches were staying, which coaches were not staying, assistant coaches were not staying, which coaches were going to be fired or they had to get held accountable, what they were going to allow Brian Flores to do and would not do going forward. That ended up being that he was fired at the end of the day. That's a huge thing, seeing that he's 8-9 coach. They won 8 of the last 9, even though they started the season 1-7. They did sweep the Patriots. They did lead the league up to in sacks going forward this season. They've been a really good second half team. They could beat anybody any given Sunday. I feel like, especially being that their only loss out of last 9 games against the number 1 seed in the conference. They definitely came out. They did what they were supposed to do to get them to salvage their season and put themselves in a position to get in the playoffs. But even though it didn't happen, I just don't see how Brian Flores is not going to be a good coach, a good coach for somebody else going forward. All right, second topic that I definitely want to talk about, keeping it right into the coaching. Byron Leftwich, ex-quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars and Pittsburgh Steelers, actually interviewed for the Jaguars job. Do I think that this is news? I think actually so. There's only 2 quarterbacks or 3 quarterbacks in Jacksonville's history that's had success. If you want to call what Blake Bortles did success, then it's 4. But I'm counting only 3. Mark Brunell, David Garrard, and who he replaced, Byron Leftwich. So, I mean, there's only a certain style of quarterbacks that they all actually are that have had success in that system, just in that, place down there. So, for him to take a job, knowing that he's led the offense with Tom Brady, won a championship now in Tampa Bay as offense coordinator. He's got some pieces with Travis Etienne coming back. He's got the number 1 pick, Trevor Lawrence, down there, ready to de-regress all the things he learned under Urban Meyer. They do have some good pieces on defense. So, I mean, it's a good job. And to see another coach of color to get an opportunity, especially when they definitely deserve it for the organization that they've already been at, that's the number 1 thing as well. To see a player come back and be a coach at their organization is always cool, man. It was a really good quarterback with him and Maurice Jones-Drew through those years. So, I mean, I would love to see him come back and be the head coach. For them, probably not for the Titans, though, because I think that they're going to score a lot of points. Good news, that's definitely not news. Next topic I definitely want to talk about is the USFL is set to kick off April 16th. Do I think that this is news? Hell yeah. There's not going to be any football going on. So to tell me that there's going to be football in April, man, all my alarm bells went off. Like, shit, I was wondering what we were gonna do about football this, because at that point, basketball is getting hot. April is after All-Star break. There's gonna be some teams pushing, but you never know with COVID, man. Like what product we could be getting from the NBA. But anytime you can couple the two, NBA and some football, it's always amazing. Spring football that the FCS schools did last year was actually really good. It came clutch at the time as well. I actually enjoyed it, watching spring football, because, man, like, there was not much else on besides a couple NBA games on. So the more sports, the better. Love it. Next topic I definitely want to talk about is one Klay Thompson, the Splash Brother himself, was back on the court last night. First time in 941 days. Oh, man, is that news? That's definitely news. Man, stats that he put up was really good, especially coming back after 900 plus days. I mean, putting up 18 shots in 20 minutes sounds just like Klay Thompson. Man, scored 17 points, he had a good throw down on with the facial at the end. Oh man, it was awesome. To see him back out there. Scary for the rest of the league. They knew it was coming. And it's just not much you can do now. So if he can stay healthy, if he's back to where he was, because Klay's a great defender, so you see there's going to be some fall off on that, but he's never been like athletic, like as such. Like, he's 6'7", so you would think that doesn't take much for a 6'7" person to dunk. 5'7", yeah, you got to be very athletic to dunk, but 6'7", there's not much, man, especially at that like condition level and strength level that you need to endure for the rest of the season. So definitely hot news right there in like seeing like this man back. Oh man, like it's scary again for the rest of the NBA. I'm a Phoenix fan. I'm always gonna say I'm a Phoenix fan, and I'm from Memphis, so I love watching the Grizzlies and I always root for them as well. But man, it's it looks bad for them when you see Klay out there, throwing down a dunk in his first game on 3 people. All right, we're going to talk about the last topic of the day. The Antonio Brown saga continues. He's been on Twitter releasing some information about his injury that Bruce Arians said that he had no information of beforehand. He actually did know through text messages. AB's airing out a lot of laundry, so going with a grievance against Tom Brady's trainer and Tom Brady himself. Do I think that this is news? Not for me. Not anymore. Like, there's no more news that I need to know about this situation. The NFL definitely needs to know information about the situation, because I would imagine that it's just like if AB wants to get paid or not. But if Antonio Brown gets paid or not, it doesn't affect me at all, to be honest. If he's injured and should have been like not playing, and what he's dealing with, like, again, is the news? Not really. Now, if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are coming out with a plan that they are supposed to pay him for the rest of the year going forward, and they're figuring out a way to stiff him, that's a bigger story in itself. But if Antonio Brown is just releasing stuff on social media instead of like going through arbitration and uses lawyers, it's not SAB being AB at this point. Alright guys, that's it for hot news, not news. When I come back, we definitely will go over my final thoughts for the night. Alright guys, when I return. Yo, we back again, guys. I definitely want to run my final thoughts for the day. So, I'm just going to talk about what Nick Saban and Kirby Smart agree upon. definitely said that there should be more regulations on the NIL rules, so that because they see that their teams are getting that much better than everybody else because of this. And you can honestly see what they're saying is completely true. It's finna be unfair. You already can get the top positions at every position at Alabama or Georgia. Or Ohio State, and the three of them are dancing through the top 10 every year. Maybe there's somebody stays into a hometown team or a childhood favorite team that they go to want to play for, but for the most part, the big 3 and 4, Clemson as well, are grabbing the top 10 players, top 25, top 100 players. So, and if you're thinking should I go to Alabama or should I go to North Carolina because I'm from North Carolina, or should I go to UT Knox and play? I know I'm gonna get some playing time there, but Alabama's still Alabama. Yeah, I'm not gonna play for 2 years, but I'm gonna be playing. You give them $1 million, man, to go there and not play for 2 years. Who's not gonna take it? So that's just it does help. And when I thought about it, it's gonna sweeten the package for the people who have to sit at Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State and Clemson. That's the packages that is sweetening. So you're gonna tell me that you can go, you're gonna pay me $100,000 a year or $200,000 a year, and I've been broke my whole life to sit and wait at Alabama instead of going to another school where I can potentially play earlier and get on the field and show my skills, and will still have the same success, but still not have, maybe not the same success as Alabama, but I'm able to still get a decent amount, a car from a dealership as a deal, or food stipend, additional food stipends from a place you never know what these kids could get, especially on top of the money incentives as well, to go to Alabama and sit. That's usually the problem. The kids sit there at their freshman year and they're like, well, I'm not gonna get no NIL deal, because yes they will. Because if they know hey, this is a 5-star recruit coming in. I know we have 2 5-star recruits at your position, one's a junior, one's a senior, but hey, work through the progression and you're going to be in that position to be there. They're going to take that chance, and they're going to be able to retain more talent than they ever retained to begin with. It's going to be unfair. So I think that there has to be some regulations on it. I'm just not so sure that the way that they're thinking of it is going to help, is going to hurt them, or they think is going to hurt them. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're just restricting how much money that a kid's getting, that isn't going to, I don't think that that's going to say choose between the schools. If anything, a kid getting more money to be a quarterback at a smaller North Texas, TSU, than they would to be at UT Knox, that would definitely change the dynamics of the decision for them. You know what I'm saying? If I'm getting an NIL deal for $250,000 to go to UT Knox, but I'm getting one for $2 million to go to TSU at a lower school, I might as well think about going to that lower school. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're coming from harder situations. Even if you're not coming from harder situations, it's still $2 million. So I don't necessarily know that what would help the whole situation. I think the rich are always going to get richer in that situation. And just until kids decide that they don't want to team up at Alabama no more. That's literally it. Or Ohio State or Georgia. Everybody wants to be their own dogs. Until then, Alabama's going to always continuously pop out, some of the best recruits every year. You got a high about that though. That's the end of my rant. That's the end of my final thoughts. I definitely want to wrap the show up right here by thanking you, the viewer. If you definitely made it this far, I definitely think that you should subscribe, like the video, turn that notification on and that bell on so you can see the next one for again and again and again. I don't care how many times you watch it, just watch it. Alright, I definitely want to take this opportunity also to give a shout out to everybody in the Chism Channel organization that helped put this together. Couldn't do it without you guys. Hey, until next time, guys. Peace.
Brought to you by the Chism Channel and TCC Productions.